Hey everyone, Richard here, Metal Fan, bringing you guys a 2014 album review, and today we're going to be looking into the 13th full-length studio album from legendary death metal band Cannibal Corpse. Yep, we're going to be looking into their band's 13th album, A Skeletal Domain, which comes out on Tuesday. And one thing to say about this is, wow, I mean, they never disappoint, honestly. I mean, these guys never fail to release a bad album, and this album is just really wow. And for this album, the band had went with a different producer. I mean, because their last three albums were produced by Eric Rutan, who's the guitar player for the band Hate Eternal. But instead, they worked with a new producer, Mark Lewis, who produced bands like Black Dahlia Murder and had a few others I can't really name of. But with this album, A Skeletal Domain, I feel like the band wanted to kind of went with a different recording approach to this album for the producer Mark Lewis. They wanted to kind of step out of their comfort zones a little bit, but not try to do something that is completely different from Cannibal. It doesn't sound like it at all. They try to make this album, is like with all of their other albums, they try to be very consistent, but at the same time not be repetitive, but try to branch out and do new things, which is pretty good because sometimes bands like to be very repetitive and make the same shit over and over, and that gets boring. But with Cannibal Corpse, they just want to still stick to the same formula but not try to overdo it as much, and I really respect that a lot. But now this album, let's talk about this album. The album's production. The production is really, really good. It's just really clear sounding. It's pretty much the best production I believe they had since probably Bloodthirst. I think is pretty much the best album with production. I really admire the production aspect of this album. And the vocal work from George Corpse Grinder Fisher. Like, his vocals, like, his just sounds really, really awesome. Like I could tell he's doing, like, still do the low gutturals, and he actually does some really good high screams. I really love that a lot from Corpse Grinder. And the guitar playing from Rob Barrett and Pat O'Brien. Both of their guitar playing is really awesome. They have some really great riffs and some really good guitar solos from both of them. The guys, they're fucking rule. And the bass playing from Alex Webster, like, his bass playing is pretty damn audible on some songs. Like, and there are some songs on this album where his bass pretty much stands out a lot, and I really like that a lot. And the drumming from Paul Mazurkowitz, like, that dude is still one of the best death metal drummers I've ever heard, and I think this is a really good album that he had played on, drumming wise. I think it's a pretty good album. But yeah, let's get into the tracks. Now the album opens up with High Velocity Impact Spatter, which is a great way to open up this album, and some really great drumming on this album, and there's a really great guitar solo. Really love that song a lot. It's a really good way to start off this album, and it's a fucking bitchin' song. Then we get to Sadistic Embodiment, which is the album's first single and pretty much the first taste of this album. And when I first heard this song, I was really stoked because I was really looking forward to a new Cannibal Corpse album, and I heard this and I got hooked on it. They never disappoint, like I said, and I really love that a lot. Then we get to Killer Become. This one really, really rips, and I really love the lyrics, like Fire Up the Chainsaw, and I really love that song a lot. It's one of my favorite songs off this album. It's a fucking great song. Then we get to the title track of the album, A Skeletal Domain, which starts off with a bit of ringing of your guitars, that has a bit of a slower start, and I really love the vocal phrasing, like how Corpse Grinder sort of fits the vocals within the certain parts of the song. Really love that a lot. Then we get to Headlong Into Carnage, really good song. I really love the guitar sounds on this album. It's really awesome. Then we get to The Murderer's Pact, which is a really great song, one of my favorite songs. I really love the guitar solo on that song. It's a fucking great song. Then we get to Funeral Cremation, which starts off with a little bit of wind blowing in the distance, which is kind of a bit weird, but it's still a great. But then it kicks in. It's a really good song. Then we get to Ice Pick Lobotomy, which is very, very frantic. It's just a very frantic, fast-paced song, and the bass is really, really loud. One of the standout songs for Alex, having the bass pretty much turned up all the way in the mix. Then we get to Vector of Cruelty. I really love the riffs on that song. It's pretty awesome. Then we get to the next on the album. It's called Bloodstained Cement, which I really love the drums on that song. It's really good. One of the best performances of Paul Mazurko. It's one of his highlights on this album. And the vocals sound really, really catchy. I don't know why I say catchy, it just sounds that way. Okay. Then we get to Asphyxiate to Resuscitate, which is a really good song. I really love the title. It's pretty interesting. Then the album closes with Hollowed Bodies, which is a really great way to end this album. It's a fucking great closer. This album has a great opener, and this song is a great closer. Now, overall, what do I need to say? These guys are awesome. And this album is really good. If I were to give this album a score, I would give this a 9.5 out of 10. So, yeah, that's my review of the new Cannibal Corpse album, guys. Thank you guys for watching. See you guys later. Keep it metal.